Apple could be getting ready to redefine what the laptop as a tool can be. It could be smaller, faster, lighter, more cost-effective, and may have way better interoperability between the Apple computers and all other Apple products running on the same ARM-based Apple Silicon. And you know what? You shouldn't wait for it to come out if you need a new computer. So, why is that? Let's find out. Yay, Intel! What's up, everyone? I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. Oh, hey, Gary, didn't you just argue the other way like 2 days ago? Yup. Welcome to part 2, where I take the devil advocate's position and say, hey, no, you don't need to wait. Go ahead and buy something right now if you need it. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I talk about Apple Silicon, go ahead and watch part 1 of this series, because I'll go a little more in depth on what it actually means, and I'll explain what all this ARM and Apple Silicon talk is all about and why it's important. This video is going to be the counter to that, and it's going to be structured slightly differently because it's hard to prove a negative, so this will not just say like, hey, you should not do something. It'll be a hybrid of why you should buy an Intel Mac and then some reasons on why you don't need to wait. If that's confusing, it was confusing to say it. If that's confusing to hear, hopefully I'll be able to clear it up as we go along. Now, you may not know this about me. If you don't know this about me, you haven't watched my content for very long, and if you're new here, welcome. But I rarely recommend people to wait to purchase technology, be it laptops, phones, computers, whatever. And that leads me to my very first reason why you should not wait. If you have a need right now, like if you have a requirement for technology right now, say you are starting school this week, your computer died, or your current computer is sorely lacking in power and cannot keep up with your needs, buy what you need right now. Don't wait, so you can get your work or school projects or other things done. Something that I think we all do, and I am saying I'm guilty of this too, is we treat these machines like status symbols, and waiting for the shiny new thing on the horizon just becomes a refrain that we all repeat ad nauseum. Wait for this, wait for that. Something new's coming, don't buy anything yet. Here's the secret though, come on. There is always something else on the horizon. Trust me, the second generation of the Apple Silicon Macs are already being actively worked on, and I would bet that even the third generation is at the very least in some kind of prototyping stage, because machines like this have long product cycles, and you can't only release it as it's like ready to go. My day job is a project manager. Yeah, our software, I don't make hardware, I make software, and even that takes months and years to complete. You've always got to be looking out and preparing. So while you work on today's solution, you are also in tandem working on tomorrow's solution. So long story long, there's always something else. So do not wait. Do not wait. I'm harping on this. Because it drives me absolutely crazy when I see people recommending waiting. Because if you wait, you'll just never get work done. You'll just never get work done because you won't ever buy anything. And that's the point of having a work machine, is doing work on it. Leading me to the second reason why you should not wait for the Apple Silicon computers. These will be first generation products. These computers, for all of their benefits and faults, will be first generation products. Apple makes some pretty darn good things. I would not use them personally, and I would not recommend them as much as I do otherwise. And that's despite what some commenters might think. I see you guys down there in the comment section below. No one actually pays me to make these videos. Well, okay, YouTube shares the ad revenue with me, but Apple doesn't pay me to say that I like their products. So despite both of those things, me liking Apple and them making generally good products, first generation devices can have all sorts of initial problems. Issues with current app/program compatibility, issues with hardware working the way it's supposed to, ports, displays, there could be a whole host of problems. And compounding that is these Apple Silicon Macs are not just first generation hardware product, it will also be a first generation hardware product that will be running on a totally new version of their operating system, which I don't mean to speak bad about macOS, but if Catalina is any indication of the future, I hope they've learned from that, but there's so many ways that there could be problems. And this new operating system is built much differently than any previous macOS systems, and all of the current developers will have to port their software over to this new hardware. There are, just thinking about this right now, there are so many ways that this could disrupt your workflow if you're creative. Programmer, designer, student, this could cause a problem for everybody. There could and will absolutely be problems with programs that don't quite gel with the ARM hardware. Apple did release a new version of their developers kit that should make the transition relatively painless, but the should in that last sentence is putting in some real darn serious work in this context. If you have a job that demands 100% reliability, dependability, and very little risk in your computer systems, you should probably stick with either your current Intel-based Mac, or you should buy one of the recent models, or buy one of the newest Intel-based systems that have not yet been released. I'm telling you, there's a reason that it's called early adoptership. Sometimes it's rough. The next thing isn't exactly the same, but I'm gonna mention this here. If you are somebody that likes to use Boot Camp to have both macOS and Windows on your MacBook, that will no longer be an option once they switch over to their own processors, as currently, Boot Camp does not work with the Apple ARM architecture. Apple ARM architecture. Say that 3 times fast. That's like a whole way of life for certain people, cut off, unable to be used again. And that does, you know what? That does kind of suck. The third reason is more for power users looking for very powerful travel options or even a desktop replacement. How much power do you actually need, and how much of your processing power is wasted? That's a real tough question, and I ask this because honestly, the current MacBook Pro 16 is absolutely one of the most powerful computers I've ever owned. And when I'm using it for my biggest, toughest, most intensive task, video editing, I'm only at most ever using between like 30, 45, maybe 50% of the processor. So I really bought more processor than I need. And sometimes buying more power doesn't get you where you need to go. So if you mainly do less intensive tasks, word processing, office type work, the new potential power on hand from the Apple Silicon chips, they don't really offer that much to you. Like if you're not using the power that you already have, okay, what is more power gonna get you? Yes, the battery life could be amazing. That's something that I cannot argue here. But again, my definition of acceptable battery life is 1 workday. So about 8 hours of light to medium use, and all of the current Intel-based MacBooks will do that for you. The next reason you shouldn't wait kind of lines up with a previous one. It's a little bit of an offshoot. We currently know what is on the market when it comes to Apple computers. We know the benchmarks. We know that all the accessories currently work perfectly. These are known quantities, and known quantities make planning and tech refresh cycles much easier, and heck, even doable. Docks that you buy today will work perfectly well. Dongles that you buy today will work perfectly well. You'll still have access to up to 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports and no other I/O built into the bodies of the computers. Hooray! Who would actually want things like HDMI, Ethernet, or SD cards? Okay, that's a shot across the bow at macOS, period. Here's where I put on my working professional hat for a moment. If you run or own a business, one of the most important things in your hardware is reliability and knowing what it can do or what it is capable of. We have no idea right now what specs, what power, what reliability, we don't know anything about the new ARM-based MacBooks, and that's a big risk for a business. Or heck, that's a big risk for anybody. That's not just a business problem, that's a people problem. And who knows if this is gonna line up with what you need. Plus, let's say you need a big powerhouse machine and the first year of Apple Silicon computers are light portable travel options. If you need a MacBook Pro 16 replacement and all we get until the end of 2021 are lighter, thinner MacBook 12-inch models or MacBook Pro 13s, you're kind of stuck. Yes, I do think the new laptops will have some very exciting technology in them, but we have no idea what's coming out, when it's coming out. So I will reiterate the earlier point because it's important and you need to hear it. If you have a need now, buy what you need now. Okay, I think I've got that out of my system. I'll try to get through the rest of the video without saying that again. I can't make any firm promises though. We talked about in the last video that the new computers could potentially be cheaper than the Intel ones based on Apple not having to buy external processors. Now I said in that video I was skeptical about it, and here's where we're gonna dig into that a little more. Now I'm gonna put on another hat, which is my skeptical hat. Here's what my skeptical hat looks like. Oddly enough, it looks like my work hat. I'm not sure how much I would believe that they would cost less. Just because a component can be made cheaper doesn't mean the R&D was less. The cost of integration has to be factored in. The software development has to be paid for this. The new chip at the end of the day could be more expensive. Just because the chip itself is cheaper, that doesn't mean that the whole enterprise around it was cheaper. Now, I am still hopeful for a cheaper MacBook, a cheaper iMac, Mac Pro, all of that stuff, but I wouldn't pin my hopes on it. Leading me, there was a point to that. It does lead me into my next reason to buy an Intel Mac. You can absolutely get them right now for much cheaper. Even what I would consider to be the flagship of the Apple line, the MacBook Pro 16, that can be found on Apple's Refurbished website. And while it might not have the specific model you want today, that website updates all the time. And it will eventually, like in a week or so, have the exact model and specs that you were looking for, sometimes $500 to $600 off. For example, in my quick search today, if you want the top of the line i9 processor in a new MacBook Pro 16, that will run you $3,000 without updating anything else. Just the processor updated, $3,000. That's an expensive laptop. But that same model refurbished will run you $2,549, almost $500 off. Still expensive, but way better price. You get one of the best processors on the market and one of the best computers for $2,500. That's not bad. And buying refurbished, my MacBook Pro 16 is actually refurbished. Apple treats it like it's brand new with the same packaging. Okay, the packaging says refurbished on like one little part of it. Same packaging, same return policy, same warranty. That's one of the best deals in technology today and a huge reason to buy now instead of waiting. If you do buy one of those older Macs, you'll still be supported with that Mac for many years. Apple has promised to continue to support their legacy machines with software updates for the next few years. So it's not like tomorrow Apple Silicon comes out and then all these Intel Macs are garbage. They will still be supported. I know some are skeptical, but think about it. The iPhone 6s is still a fully supported compatible phone for Apple, and that thing is old. I used 9 O's in the script to push that point home, how old the 6s is. So I would not be afraid that your machine will turn into a pumpkin overnight, because it won't. Okay, because it shouldn't. Gary, future Gary, go ahead and put a little asterisk when I say it won't. Okay, we've covered ourselves. I do own 3 Apple MacBooks right now. I cannot overstate this. Third time is the charm. Okay, I lied from earlier. If you have a technical need now, and there is a technical solution out there, buy what is available today. Waiting is only a luxury for somebody that already has their need met and could upgrade, but doesn't exactly need to. It drives me bonkers. It drives me bonkers when people only recommend waiting. I assume somewhere out there in the internet, there's a person that hasn't bought anything since 1982 because they always wait for the next big thing. Don't be the 1982 person. I was born in 83, so I can make fun of 1982. One thing that I'll say, and this is more of a personal thing than about the MacBooks, you should already know why you need a computer before you buy it anyway. Really stop and think of what your requirements are before buying any piece of technology, but seriously, before waiting around for the Apple Silicon Macs. These are all the reasons that I would recommend not waiting and getting what you need as soon as you need it. But what are some of the reasons you didn't wait? I know some of you didn't wait because a lot of you have been commenting on the last video. You can see that I've got the MacBook Pro 13, I've got a 16 that we had on the video last time. So clearly I didn't wait because I have computer and video production needs right now. So let's see if your reason lines up with mine. Let's find out together. And if you watch this video and you want to see what the arguments on the other side of the equation are, good news! I've got just the video for you. Go ahead and click right here. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.